Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
The moment the commentator paused for half a second before announcing car number 85, something unusual happened at the Shanghai International Circuit. It was not the sound of engines roaring through the straight, nor the smell of burning tires drifting across the pit lane. It was the crowd. Tens of thousands of people suddenly exploded into cheers, and within seconds, an ocean of green lights swallowed the grandstand's whole. Nobody expected a professional racing event in China to feel like a sold-out stadium concert. Yet, that is exactly what unfolded when Contemporary Sports magazine published its shocking headline. 50,000 people packed the racetrack. Overnight, what was once considered a niche motorsport competition transformed into one of the most talked-about cultural moments of the year. And at the center of it all stood Wang Yibo. What makes this story so fascinating is not simply the number of people who arrived, but the atmosphere that surrounded the entire event. Long before the race officially began, social media platforms were already flooded with videos showing endless queues stretching around the circuit. Hotels within several kilometers of the venue were completely booked. Restaurants nearby extended their opening hours. Even taxi drivers reportedly discussed race schedules with passengers because traffic around the circuit became unusually intense. For many locals, it no longer felt like a motorsport weekend. It felt like the arrival of a national phenomenon. The most remarkable detail was perhaps the audience itself. Traditionally, professional GT racing in China attracts a relatively specialized community. Fans often follow technical discussions about tire strategy, lap consistency, and vehicle setup. Yet this time, the atmosphere looked entirely different. Young women carrying banners filled the stands. Families arrived together, wearing matching green accessories. Some people openly admitted online that they had never watched a racing competition before, but decided to attend simply because Wang Yibo inspired their curiosity. That single detail quietly revealed the deeper significance of the event. This was not merely a celebrity appearance. It was the expansion of an entire audience demographic. Many observers initially questioned whether this surge of attention would damage the seriousness of professional racing. On forums and discussion boards, debates appeared almost instantly. Some traditional racing enthusiasts worried that celebrity attention might overshadow the sport itself. Others feared the event would gradually turn into a large-scale fan gathering rather than a legitimate motorsport competition. Yet the reality on the track complicated those assumptions. Wang Yibo did not arrive as someone casually participating for entertainment value. He arrived prepared, focused, disciplined. His qualifying result of 2 minutes and 3.357 seconds placed him 24th overall among 57 cars and 10th within the amateur category. To casual viewers, these numbers may seem technical, but within racing circles, they represent something important. They prove commitment. Racing is unforgiving. Cameras and popularity cannot replace discipline on a high-speed circuit. Every braking point, every corner entry, and every acceleration zone demands precision. The track does not reward fame. It rewards concentration. That is why many people began to change their perspective after seeing the data emerge. Whether someone entered the venue as a fan or a curious observer, the professionalism displayed on the circuit gradually became impossible to ignore. At the same time, the organizers themselves appeared slightly overwhelmed by the scale of attention. Reports claimed ticketing systems experienced temporary failures after nearly 50,000 tickets disappeared rapidly. Vendors expanded their stalls around the circuit, creating entire rows of temporary food and merchandise areas. Parking zones became increasingly difficult to manage as vehicle numbers surged far beyond previous expectations. Security teams reportedly increased their presence throughout the weekend, not because of disorder, but because crowd enthusiasm reached levels rarely associated with domestic racing events. Yet, perhaps the most powerful aspect of this phenomenon lies in what happened psychologically. For years, motorsport in many regions struggled with accessibility. To ordinary audiences, racing often appeared distant, technical, and expensive. Many people respected it from afar, but never truly felt invited into the culture surrounding it. Suddenly, one familiar public figure managed to lower that invisible barrier. People who previously knew nothing about racing terminology started discussing lap times online. Short clips explaining pit strategy began trending across video platforms. Viewers searched for information about GT cars, endurance racing, and track regulations. A completely new conversation emerged almost overnight. This is why many analysts believe the real story extends far beyond entertainment. What happened at China GT was a demonstration of how influence can reshape attention itself. In the modern digital era, attention has become one of the most valuable currencies in the world. A single figure capable of redirecting millions of eyes towards a niche industry possesses enormous cultural impact. Wang Yibo did not invent motorsport, nor did he replace the professional drivers who dedicated years to the discipline. Instead, he acted as a bridge. He connected mainstream audiences with a world they previously overlooked. There is also something emotionally compelling about the transformation itself. Contemporary Sports magazine described the circuit only days earlier as relatively quiet, almost empty except for the wind moving across the stands. Then, suddenly, the same venue became overwhelmed with noise, movement, excitement, and energy. That contrast creates a cinematic feeling difficult to ignore. One moment, silence. The next, an eruption of life. It almost resembles scenes from a sports film where a forgotten arena suddenly becomes the center of national attention. Interestingly, many businesses immediately recognized the value of this shift. Sponsors gained unprecedented exposure through social media clips shared by fans. Local businesses experienced increased customer traffic. Online platforms eagerly promoted race-related content because the visuals were so engaging. Glowing green support lights, dramatic pit lane entrances, packed grandstands, and emotional crowd reactions. The event became visually irresistible for algorithms designed to prioritize excitement and interaction. However, the long-term implications remain even more intriguing. Massive crowds alone do not guarantee sustainable growth. Once the excitement settles, the challenge becomes maintaining audience interest. Can racing organizations improve accessibility for first-time viewers? Can they create educational content that helps newcomers understand the sport more deeply? Can future events handle growing attendance without operational strain? These questions now matter more than ever because expectations have changed. The audience is no longer limited to existing racing enthusiasts. A much broader public has entered the conversation. One particularly touching detail shared online involved first-time spectators reacting emotionally to the atmosphere itself. Some admitted they initially attended only to support Wang Yibo, but later found themselves genuinely captivated by the intensity of the race. Others described the sound of GT engines echoing across the circuit as something far more powerful in person than through a phone screen. Several young viewers even expressed new interest in motorsport careers after witnessing the event. These small stories may ultimately become the most meaningful outcome of all. There is also an undeniable symbolism surrounding car number 85. Over time, it has gradually evolved beyond an ordinary race number into a recognizable identity associated with dedication, discipline, and boundary-breaking ambition. For fans, it represents pride. For brands, it represents influence. For organizers, it represents visibility. And for many neutral observers, it represents the possibility that niche sports can still break into mainstream culture under the right circumstances. Another reason this story resonated so strongly online is because it carried emotional layers beyond racing itself. Many viewers saw it as proof that people are still searching for shared experiences in an increasingly fragmented digital world. In an era dominated by short clips and isolated scrolling, nearly 50,000 individuals gathered physically in one place to cheer together, react together, and experience the same emotional atmosphere simultaneously. That feeling cannot easily be manufactured. It must happen organically, and when it does, audiences instinctively recognize its authenticity. Of course, not every reaction has been universally positive, and that complexity actually fuels further interest. Debates continue regarding celebrity influence in professional sports spaces. Some critics remain cautious about whether this level of attention benefits motorsport culture in the long run. Yet even these discussions contribute to the broader significance of the event. People are talking about racing who previously ignored it entirely. From a visibility standpoint, that alone represents a dramatic transformation. Perhaps the most striking lesson from this entire phenomenon is that many niche industries do not necessarily lack quality or excitement. Sometimes they simply lack visibility. They lack storytellers capable of bringing new audiences through the door. Once people finally experience the atmosphere for themselves, curiosity naturally follows. This may ultimately become the lasting legacy of this moment. Not just the crowds, not just the headlines, but the idea that one event successfully introduced an entirely new generation to a world they had never considered before. As the sun began setting over the Shanghai International Circuit, countless fans remained near the barriers long after the race concluded, still discussing overtakes, pit stops, and dramatic corners. Some held their phones high, replaying clips they had captured during the day. Others simply stood quietly, absorbing the atmosphere. In those final moments, the event no longer felt like a temporary trend. It felt like the beginning of something larger, a cultural crossover, a shift in attention, a reminder that modern influence can reshape entire environments when passion, preparation, and timing collide in exactly the right way. And perhaps that is why the headline from Contemporary Sports magazine continues to spread across social media today. It was never only about 50,000 people filling a racetrack. It was about witnessing a moment where entertainment, sport, business, and emotion suddenly merged into one unforgettable scene. Thank you for spending time with us today on Star Watch Now. Stories like this remind us that some moments in entertainment and sport become far bigger than anyone originally expected. They become cultural memories that people continue discussing long after the lights fade and the crowds return home. Whether you follow motorsport closely or simply enjoy watching extraordinary moments unfold, this event proved that passion has the power to connect completely different worlds in ways nobody can fully predict. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to subscribe to Star Watch Now and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates from the world of Chinese entertainment, celebrity culture, and unforgettable social phenomena. We'll continue bringing you the biggest trending stories, emotional moments, and behind-the-scenes developments shaping the entertainment industry today. Thank you once again for watching and supporting the channel. Your views, comments, and discussions help keep these stories alive and growing every single day. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep your eyes on the stories everyone will soon be talking about.